Okay, so for this week's group problems, Sandra and I were a group and we did the problems together, and I'm just going to go ahead and do the video explaining how we did them. So for question 1, it asks what the following cross between a heterozygous male and female would be, and what their genotypes and phenotypes of their children would be. And to do this, you just perform a cross between the two parents, and you can set it up in a table format if you wanted. And there would be 3/4 of the children would be non-diseased, and 1/4 would be diseased. And so non-diseased would be homozygous, a dominant A, and then heterozygous, and then the disease would be homozygous recessive for like little a. For B, it asks for the genotypes and phenotypes again, and you would do the same thing. You would make out your cross between the mom and the mom and the dad, and so then you would get half of the children or the offspring being non-diseased and half being diseased. And again, diseased is the recessive gene, so you would have to have homozygous recessive for that. Okay, for C, it asks how many bodies would be found in the woman's cells, since she had triple X syndrome, but then she also had a couple other deletions and whatnot. And so Sandra and I said that it would have 2 bar bodies found, because the body is deactivating 2 chromosomes, and there was only 1 active chromosome. So that is what we got for that one. Okay. And then for D, we said that no bar bodies would be found because the female cat only had 2 X chromosomes, and neither are being inactivated since T6 counteracts the deactivation of it. So there wouldn't be any bar bodies that were found. Okay. So for the fill in the blanks then for 2. A, we got that SRY is an example of holoandric gene, and then B, we got MIC2, and then for C, we got all the offspring would be dwarfed, and D, we had sex-influenced inheritance, and for E, we have genomic imprinting, and then there's a second blank that has dosage compensation. And then we have, for F, we have the X-is and the X-6 for the answer, and then G, we had the X chromosome. Alright, now for 3, we have, for A, we had the mother would be homozygous dominant, and she would not be affected, but the dad would be a carrier on his X chromosome. And then for B, we said that there would be a 25% chance that her male child would have the disease. You can find that out if you just do the cross between the mother and the father, and then you can see what the chances are of the child having the disease and being born with OTD. And C asks to identify the genotype of a male with whom the woman could produce a daughter with OTD. And the genotype would be that the X would be a carrier and the Y would obviously not be, since it's a daughter. Consider, consider the cross described in part C of this question. Then this is for D, and it asks for the genotypes and the phenotypes again. And if you do the cross, just like we've done before, and you would cross a heterozygous female with a carrier female. I'm so sorry. Carrier female with a male who has the disease. Then a quarter of the females would be carriers, a quarter of the females would be affected, a quarter of the males would not be affected, and a quarter of the males would be affected. Okay, and then for 4, sorry, I can't see it. So, okay, so for A, we said that the genotype for the male would be big B, little b, and then the female would be big B, little b, so it would be heterozygous for both. And then the phenotype would be bearded male goat and non-bearded female goat. And then for B, letter B, we said that the male would be heterozygous, big B, little b. Female would be heterozygous, big B, little b, and the phenotypes would be bearded male and non-bearded female. For C, we said that the male would be heterozygous, be big B, little b, and the female would be homozygous recessive. And then for D, we said that the male would be homozygous recessive and the female would be heterozygous. So it would be little b, and then big B, little b. Okay. Alright. And then for number 5. Okay. Number 5 says, and these questions are linked to X-linked inheritance and reciprocal crosses. So for A, it asks the phenotypes and the genotypes of the specific parents that it gave us, and we got a quarter females would be tortoise shells, a quarter females would be orange, and a quarter would be male, and a quarter would be male black, and a quarter would be male orange. Respectively, you would have, for the tortoise shell, you would have like a heterozygous, and then for the female orange, you would have the dominant homozygous, and so on. And it would just be respective to the dominance, as the dominant allele B is black, and then the mixed coat for the tortoiseshell would be the heterozygous. Okay. For letter B, the genotype of the male tortoise cat would be because it's such a rare condition, the only way that you can really think that it would even happen was if the male had an extra X chromosome, which does happen in some cases where an extra X chromosome can be present, and so he would have to have that extra X chromosome, and it would have to be on the extra one. He would have a heterozygous coat and like dominant and recessive gene, so that it would give off the tortoise shell. So his genotype would look like X, big B, X, little b, and Y. So he would have the heterozygous in addition to his Y chromosome. And C, the mutation would be homozygous recessive, or on the female, or it would be just the father was a carrier and he had a recessive on his X chromosome. And so half of your females would have normal wings, and then half of the males would have scallop wings, because we're only taking of the four, and so, well, I guess all your females in general would have the normal wings, but just in respect to the ratio that we did, it was just 2/4 and 2/4. But it would relate to each of the children, and so that it would follow that pattern for each woman and each male child. For D, all the progeny would be scalloped because they are autosomal, so there's really no escaping that one. And so that was this week's problems that Sandra and I did together.